high five. Come on. Inside the 10. Head first. He dives inside the 5-yard line.
Rushing forward, ball comes out of the hands of Newton. It's on the ground and still on the ground. Picked up by T.J. Ward at the 4-yard line.
Davis gets 19. McCaffrey with a 19-yard reception. And Terrell again for at least 19 and more than that. Inside the 10, touchdown Denver.
All week long, Marty Schottenheimer talked to his...
Manning out of the gun. Manning lets it fly. It's caught by Thomas. There's the record for Peyton Manning.
And welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Mundungus Creevy, joined today, as always, most of the time, by my co-host, the 6'10", Mr. Boggins and Glenn Hauser. Make sure that you like, subscribe, share, comment, and turn on notifications so that you can get alerted anytime we go live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch. Also, tune into all of our other podcasts, Broncos Talk every Tuesday at 7654, the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast every Friday, 7654, and the Neighborhood Pregame Show every Broncos game day. About an hour and a half before game time is when we start that one out. So how is everybody doing after that fantabulous game against the Chargers?
Terrible. I want to talk about Vic Fangio challenging a play that didn't need to be challenged. It's trash.
Okay. Now I will say this. He has a guy. He's got to have a guy up in the booth, like advising him to challenge that stuff, right? What exactly did they see to have him challenge that play? Because there was nothing there at all.
I don't know what Stevie Wonder was doing up in that booth, but they need to get him out of here.
I don't even understand the premise of that challenge. Like there wasn't anything. Even if he won, what would he have won?
A parting gift, I feel like. I don't know.
San Francisco treat.
I don't know. I'm just kidding. I'm very excited. It was a great weekend of just like
not suckage.
Chef kiss of a win against a rival who was looking real good, and then they quickly look real bad. So I am very excited. All of our rookies, again, like they took a week off, I feel like, in Philly. Everyone took a week off, I guess. And after the bye, came back, rested, looked just like they did against Dallas. So I'm hoping that sticks around for this week against the toughest game we will have played so far.
Shadow Jacker smells like a winning season. Wow, that's really cool how they put the
horse. What's the horse?
Broncos, maybe?
Broncos. No, it can't be. It has to be something that has to be to the lock.
No.
Oh.
Kay Hauser, hey, Dad, it's your daughter. Good luck tonight.
Aww.
Hey, Zoe.
What are you doing?
She's trying to get ungrounded. That's what's happening.
We're not professionals, so he doesn't need luck. Let's see here.
Nobody's throwing in emojis here.
That wasn't even the one I wanted to click. Okay. Didn't mean to click that one, but all right. EJ, that was the dumbest play to challenge. I was yelling. We just lost a timeout. I mean, I guess
is that really how we're leading off the show? Is
maybe. Okay, so
fire at this podcast.
Well, I mean, we might as well start talking about the game. So let's start off on a good note, and let's have everybody pick their player of the game.
I mean,
oh come on,
or players, or players. You can have more than one.
I get it.
Oh. I pick Patrick Surtain.
Yeah. I want to
yeah. I mean, just what a performance. And
yeah.
You know, there were a couple really cool things. One, Ryan Green from CBS in Denver, actually on Twitter, had a split screen horizontally of Surtain running back for a touchdown and Champ Bailey running back for a touchdown. And man, it gave me chills. And then on Good Morning Football, they actually had footage of the Pat's dad running back a touchdown as a member of the Dolphins against the Broncos at that same stadium, same end zone, the works. It was, I mean, what It was just fantastic. So.
Well, they said that that PS2 got up to, what was it, 22.4 mile an hour on that run back on that pick six. He was moving.
He was gone.
And Justin Herbert was trying to catch him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
I absolutely take back anything I ever said about Patrick Surtain not being a scheme fit. I was sorely mistaken when Fangio said that it didn't matter about scheme fit and that like a good player is a good player. Oh man, was he right? Like he is just lockdown, and I am so glad.
Calm yourself.
Wow.
Prophet with the whip.
Shadow Jacker says Sam Martin.
That's not a bad one either, actually.
Yeah.
Or
who was it? Nate Hairston that Corral.
Hairston.
It was.
Yeah. That was
okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, before Don goes, I'm saying Baron Browning.
We're leaving it Don. Very few. Actually, so many guys played well. He's got a treasure trove.
Yeah. I mean, you could throw a dart anywhere on that. And aside from Drew Lock, is probably the only exception to that rule. Yeah. Otherwise,
wow.
Otherwise,
just looking around, making sure nothing's gonna fall on me. Talking bad about Drew Lock. Look out.
Hey, it hurts me as a fan to say it, but unfortunately, there's no way you can defend what that man did on that drive. I mean, it was just terrible.
So Glenn goes with Patrick Surtain. Boggin said Patrick Surtain.
I'll go. I'll throw someone else. I'll throw someone else besides Surtain's twin brother, Patrick and Surtain. I'll go Quinn Bailey. Like what a dude stepping in and just against Bosa. I mean, let's be honest. Teddy Bridgewater also stiff-armed
the snot out of him
back into his mother's womb. So but no, he did an amazing job, and it's like every time someone comes in and plays left tackle, like Calvin Anderson and Quinn Bailey, and they play well at left tackle, you're like, God, like please be ambidextrous. Please be able to move to right tackle because we need you. Even though Massey's doing great, and I think we will try to re-sign him for at least another year until we have someone like long term there. But he played a fantastic game. Glad he got one of the game balls, and it was amazing.
Okay, so you got Quinn Bailey, I got Baron Browning, and Adon, you went with Drew Lock, right? That's your player of the game.
With Teddy Bridgewater.
Okay.
You got to give it up for the man. I mean, the man took a really, really nasty hit from behind because of a blown play from his tight ends. And thankfully, he was able to come back in that second half. And, he didn't turn the ball over. He didn't force anything that didn't need to, kind of prove that he could be that guy. And then he also didn't do the checkdowns. He kept the ball where it needed to be, and he made the plays that needed to be made. So, you got to commend a guy like that, especially for going back out there and not, wanting to sit out just because the Broncos had a good lead. He knows how much that game meant to this team, not just because it was the division, but just because I'm pretty sure he was still feeling the ill effects of that Eagles game. If anybody was feeling bad about that game, guys, it was Teddy Bridgewater. So while this win doesn't really, kind of pardon him of everything that happened in that game, I think it's going in the right step. Now we just need to see how else he can continue doing going forward in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
Don, you failed to mention the fact that he stiff-armed Joey Bosa on his way to throwing a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I mean that was unbelievable. I love that screenshot, and his initial touchdown run too when he's diving for the pylon. I don't think anyone could question his toughness after that.
Nope. And if you saw like the close up, the slow motion, like as he like takes his middle finger and sticks it right down Joey Bosa's mouth, just like bloop, bloop, and like then puts it in the ground.
Fish up,
just like a little extra.
Bloop. So I mean, we might as well get into it. So we had talked not last week, the week before that, about how, maybe not all of us, some of us were at least interested in seeing what Drew Lock could do, because we had Teddy Bridgewater playing poorly. He was injured at times. And so we'd had the thoughts of, well, let's see, put Drew Lock in there. Maybe we can extend some drives or have some deep balls. We saw that in the game. I don't want that ever again. He played terrible. He had 10 snaps, and one was a fumble and one was an interception.
Yeah, but he led them on a touchdown drive.
Stop it. Stop it. If by led do you mean hand the ball off, then absolutely. He led him on a touchdown drive.
To another player of the game, Javon
Williams. Woo!
Where did Williams come from? I never even heard about this guy before the draft. Oh, sorry, Bob.
But yeah, I'm hoping that, and obviously there's going to be some that are defend him no matter what. But I'm hoping that the Lock Teddy Bridgewater thing is done now. We've seen them both. It's pretty obvious that Teddy Bridgewater is a better quarterback for what we're doing right now. It's also fairly obvious that the coaches believe that a 50-50 injured Teddy is better than a fully healthy Lock.
Gosh,
so, I mean, that's why they sent him back in there in the third quarter. So,
yimping back in there. No. Man, imagine being Drew, though. You're just okay. Well, yeah, good luck, Teddy.
Yeah.
Until I see Teddy fumble the ball for a first down, I'm still.
He's not better. He's not better than Drew Lock.
Mm-hmm.
When you can fumble the ball and have Tim Patrick cover it for a first down, that's when you know future Hall of Famer.
Now, I want to make something clear though. Also, for some reason, there are certain people that get it in their brains that when we say that, or at least when I say Teddy Bridgewater is better than Drew Lock, or is better for the team right now than Drew Lock. I don't know if necessarily the ceiling is better, but anyways, that is not saying that Teddy Bridgewater is the franchise quarterback for the Denver Broncos. I am saying currently he is playing well enough sometimes that we can win games. That's it. I definitely believe there is a future quarterback for the Denver Broncos down the road. But as for now, Teddy is doing everything that we thought Teddy would do and be consistent and sustainable. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, we've talked about it before, and we've made this point before. None of us believe that Lock is never going to amount to anything in the NFL. I do believe, and I believe that the majority of us do believe, that Drew Lock has the talent and the skill to be able to play well in the NFL, just not here and now with the Denver Broncos. We've seen quarterbacks that are okay, possible backup, go to a different team with a different coach and play better. Ryan Tannehill, with the Miami Dolphins, he was okay, but he moved over to the Titans, and now he's, consistently a top 10 quarterback. So it's not that it can't happen. It's just not going to happen with this coaching staff on this team.
So Boggins, let me ask you this: what do you think is going to happen, or what? And also, what would you prefer happens? And maybe they're both the same, but would you prefer a veteran QB in a trade, or sign Teddy for a couple years and draft a first-round quarterback next season?
I personally don't want to touch this QB class now. Could something crazy happen? One of them is amazing. Yeah, sure. That's always the chance you're going to take. However, it is very inconsistent in this draft with the QBs, and I would much rather go 2023 with Stroud and Bryce Young and whatnot. As far as veterans, you also get more into who is will actually let the Broncos win some games outside of someone that's more used to the system. Well, I guess if you change gosh, okay, sorry, I'm getting there's so many different variables. There's so many different variables for this offseason. Depends on who's going to be the head coach of the team. Depends on who's going to be the offensive coordinator. If it's the same offensive, if it's the same staff, then I would say Teddy would be fine going in. And then if we do decide to draft a QB, the veterans are kind of I don't know if we're going to be able to swing for the fences as much as we want to with Aaron and
Russ.
Russ. Russ has a no trade clause, so he gets to choose. Don't think he'll like the market as much. Aaron Rodgers, I would be okay with, but that would also be another 2-year fix. So I honestly do not know. I think it's going to be a huge toss up, and I think that Peyton is just going to take his chips as they fall and just kind of go with it. I don't see us reaching though for a quarterback this year. Although I think that a lot of quarterbacks will fall right in our laps. But that happened this year. Like Justin Fields fell right in our laps and we didn't swing on it. So I think if they didn't like Justin Fields this last, I don't know how they're going to really like any of the other quarterbacks.
And now looking back at it, you're like, oh, Mac Jones, he was there too.
I still don't. I think Mac Jones is playing very well.
Yeah.
But did we not say that he was probably going to be the best coming out, like initially, right? Because he was the most pro ready of the quarterbacks, and he is also in a very good system with the Patriots. He's playing very well. Absolutely. I still don't think his ceiling is higher than some of these other quarterbacks that are there. It's just going to take them longer to groom because they're way more raw
and have very different offensive coordinators and what
very different.
Yeah. So let's kind of a little off topic, but not. So a big name that we've been hearing a lot about potential quarterback for next year is Russell Wilson. Right now, the Seahawks are bad. Mm-hmm. What is going on with the Seahawks? Is it a Russell Wilson finger issue? Is it a lack of talent? Is it a coaching problem? Like, what is going on that's making the Seahawks? What are they now, 3-8?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I really wasn't, and I've had this discussion with one of my friends because he's a big Seahawks fan, and I told him the same thing. When Brian Schottenheimer got let go, I really felt that was a really bad move by Seattle, and so far it's been proving right. Now, when you see that game from last Monday night, a lot of those passes were passes that you would never see Russell Wilson or you've never seen him make. They were either too low or too high. But when he was able to calibrate the ball and put it right on the spot, he was able to get to his receivers and find it correctly. But at the same time, there were a bunch of plays where he didn't even target DK Metcalf, and Metcalf was open like half of the time, and he only saw like one target the entire game. So I really feel that while it could be a little bit of both things, it could be Russell Wilson's finger. Maybe he kind of rushed back into it, and maybe he's not at 100%, and it's affecting his ability to throw the ball. That could be one thing. But I also think the biggest thing out of it is just basically the offense that they have in Seattle is just terrible. Their offensive line is still as crappy as it's always been, and it's probably been worse. And Seattle spent a lot of their picks last year upgrading their defense. And their defense is struggling because they spend more time out on the field than the offense does. And that's the best way to beat any football team in the league, really, is when you tire out the defense and they're just too tired to keep, trying to prevent the ball from getting
keeping on.
Yeah, keep it on. So hopefully his finger issue is something that can be that is not something that prolongs, because even if he doesn't come to Denver, if he goes to another team, that's like one thing that a lot of coaches might kind of hesitate in terms of, considering him, bringing him onto the team, is if that finger is doing more harm than good.
Well, he's definitely still hurt. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. But for me, like, and Boggins, you live there, so you'll be able to offer some insights of being like in amongst. Close. But it feels like that Seattle's kind of run its course. Like Carroll's run its course. Legion of Boom is dismantled. The offensive line is a disaster. The Geno Smith backup plan did not seem to work. Their division is equally as competitive as ours. It's kind of like the counterpart, and for the NFC, it's just, I just feel like a lot of things have, Russ seems disgruntled. I mean, he was disgruntled before the season even started. He was disgruntled sitting there at the Super Bowl after he won Walter Payton Man of the Year. I mean, just, I think it's run its course, and he's hurt, and he's trying to not have a terrible season for the team, and it just didn't pan out on the Monday night game. And I'd have to think that it could affect his value. I don't know how much, but depending on how badly the season goes and how badly he plays down the stretch, could they still get the 3 first-round draft picks? And that's another thing, is that Seattle is having a terrible year. They're sitting in a top 5 draft position, and they gave up the pick already for safety.
Jamal
And
Adams,
and so they don't even have that to rebuild. I think Russell's going to want to get out of there, and hopefully, us having 3 major offensive wide receiver weapons already under contract, plus the tight ends, plus the young running back, and a line that seems to be, with a lot of depth. Hopefully he changes his mind, from his initial list that his agent put out there, and Denver would be on it. That would, I think he'd be unbelievable dropping bombs.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of problems with the Seahawks currently. I don't think there's a lot there's not something that you can just narrow down one thing to. I think that Russ is having his issues right now, and then he's also hurt. However, I still would put Russell Wilson over a majority of quarterbacks in the NFL. I still think he's Russell Wilson. So, would I take him? Absolutely. And I think that you are gaining a lot more weapons here. Like they have DK, they have Tyler Lockett, and that's it. They're great, but he doesn't have as many weapons to spread the ball around to, or a consistent run game, because Chris Carson is always hurt. And they just signed Adrian Peterson, for God's sake. Like you're really diving at that point. So I think there's a lot that the Seahawks are on the verge of a full rebuild, which really sucks for a player like DK Metcalf coming in there just, for a year. That would have been great if they could have made a run, but that defense wasn't able to hold up. So I think that Russ will be on the move. Will it be Denver? I don't know. I think with the no trade clause, that really does narrow down some options to more of a big market. And I don't think, Colorado has the vastness of area, but I don't think it has the market that he would strive for. Like I would say more of the Giants or something, which stinks because you're not going to like a good team there. But yeah. I think it's going to really dwindle down to if market is bigger than the players around, because I think that Denver will be a very, very tantalizing option for veteran quarterbacks if they want to get traded. So we'll see.
Yeah. That's Avatar's Twitter handle, at Avatar80239. Being a massive supporter of the show, I went ahead and followed you on my personal one and on the podcast one. So everybody else, go follow Avatar on Twitter. That's his Twitter handle right there.
And when is your second movie coming out? I've been hearing about it for so long, and there's supposed to be like 4 coming, and I haven't even seen the second one. So
yeah, tell James Cameron.
And are you on your planet or are you on ours?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I've mentioned it before, but the irony of someone named Avatar not actually having one is
is this actually like discount Tom Hardy in here? Like whoever the guy was in Avatar, that's not Tom Hardy.
I'll be honest with you, I've never seen the movie.
Okay, well then you're not getting any of these jokes.
Wow. So. Wow. We also, did you guys see that? Was it Ian Rappaport that had that tweet saying that the Seahawks signed Adrian Peterson? Obviously, they're not giving up on the season or something like that. It's like, that doesn't make any sense.
If there's still a chance, they're not technically mathematically eliminated.
Because it's either way. Like, obviously, if he's going to a 3-8 team, Adrian is not title chasing, and by signing Adrian Peterson, you're not like upgrading anything. So I'm not nothing against Adrian Peterson, but he's not the Adrian Peterson of like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, you can't spell ARP without AP. You know that.
Stupid. Life advice: you can't spell ARP
without AP.
AP.
That should be on the shirt.
Man,
can't spell crap without AP.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so we're gonna hit some running back talk, and then we're gonna go switch back over to the defense. Melvin Gordon has been a big topic in Broncos country because we're talking about who to pair with Javon Williams. Do we re-sign Melvin Gordon and keep him paired with Javon Williams? Do we let him go and try to draft one? What do we do with Melvin Gordon?
I'd let him hit the open market. I'd let him, because I don't get me wrong. I like him. I think it's the duo of them is great. I would want him to go get humbled a bit in free agency. And then
again,
if we can't get him back, then that sucks. But I mean, we could potentially re-sign Mike Boone or go get, there's a flurry of other running backs out there that will be fine. I mean, I'm very confident that Javonte in his second year will be a great starting running back. So it also depends.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon, simply because of his name, doesn't seem like a guy who would be in the market for long. At least I don't think so. Granted, he didn't build the greatest of resumes this season so far, where he would go and command a big contract like the one he got in Denver. But I agree with what Boggin said. There could be little to no interest in signing a guy like Gordon because he might have a hefty price tag. And, maybe if he actually believes in where this team is heading in the direction of next offseason, he could decide to, try to see if he can stay and take a pay cut or, a more team-friendly deal, see if he works out with the new offense. Because I'm pretty sure we're going to get a new offensive coordinator. So it could be a coaching decision where they don't want to put Gordon in that type of scheme and they want to just keep running with Javonte. And I don't know if they get another one in the draft or if they, sign another runner. I mean, who knows? But I don't think Melvin Gordon is a Bronco next year unless like the Broncos really desperately need a running back of his stature, or if he cuts a more team-friendly deal, I would say.
Well, I saw some crackpot on Twitter yesterday suggest that they should franchise tag Melvin Gordon.
Some podcast called the Nothing Rhymes.
Nothing Rhymes.
I don't know who that is, but
I've never heard
I would love for Melvin to be back next year. I think there's still gas in that tank. I think this is a league that is not a one running back league anymore, and it's a tandem base. Look what happened with the Browns. When were the Browns successful? When they had Kareem Hunt and they had Nick Chubb at the same time, and after when those injuries happened,
Jim Brown, and that's about it.
Yeah. I think we're really bridging some eras here.
Or Ernest Johnson.
Boggins might be onto something. If you let him hit the open market, I think he likes it here. I think he likes this team. I think he likes Denver. I think he's acclimated himself well. I think he likes teamed up with Javonte. I've seen interviews where he said, when Javonte breaks a run, he says, I have to go break a run. There's not it seems to be a friendly competition and not a negative relationship. So,
well, they do it in two different ways too. Like Javonte is that running back that needs a bigger hole to run through, but he's the guy that's going to hit somebody and power through him and then break the tackle and get the long run. Whereas Gordon is the guy that you give him a half an inch and he's going to find some way to squeeze through it and then go get 3 yards.
He's like water. He finds that crack and and makes his way through. There's zero chance that he approaches the money he's being paid now. I mean, it's just not going to happen. But if you can get him for half that, 3, 4, he's at 8 now. If you can get him for 4, 3, I mean, that's a deal. When you have a running back backfield that's making, probably combined with Javonte and Boone less than $8 million, I think that would be pretty spectacular.
You think like 2 years, $4 million apiece?
Something like that, or 2 for 7, something.
Or we could franchise tag him and then trade him for Jonathan Taylor. And then we're fine.
You'd have a better chance of trading him for the Jonathan Taylor from like Home Improvement
or Mark Ingram.
Hey, don't you put that evil on JTT?
Don't do that. Don't do that. I missed a question from Shadow Jacker. He says, "What's a tantalizing offer, a trade offer for good old Russell Wilson? What do we think we'd have to get up if we wanted to go after Russell Wilson?"
What's the name of the horse that rides out just before every single game? Thunder? Yeah, we'd have to probably give him.
Really? Really?
What?
Who said he could go first?
Probably him and some draft picks.
We're gonna give up that horse thing that runs out on the field. I don't know his name, but he's really important.
I don't know if it was. I know it was Thunder, but I wasn't sure if it was the first or the second.
It's Miles.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's the mascot.
I know it's Miles. That's what it is.
Oh, what would we?
I mean, you gotta think it would be what, 2 firsts.
A second and a third would be great for me.
And a player.
You think so?
Yeah.
Do you think Rodgers goes for more, or do you think Russ goes for more?
Russ would go for more.
No,
because of his age or because of his play?
No, because of his age.
Okay.
I think Russ has more value. I think a couple first rounders, a second, maybe a couple seconds, and probably a player.
I wonder if they take Locke at that point.
Why?
Just because what other options do they have at quarterback right now? Geno Smith? I mean, there's at least potential there with Locke. Yeah, I'm not saying he'd be a good trade piece. I'm just asking, would that be something that they could be interested in if they were trading their franchise quarterback?
They could be interested in Chubb also.
Yeah, they would probably want an edge defender. I mean, our offensive line, they could probably try to nitpick somebody simply for the fact that that's what, aside from pass rushing, it's one of the things that they desperately need help upon. But I agree with what Boggin said. Probably more than likely draft picks. I don't know in what order, and player. I would probably say leaning more towards the offensive side than the defensive side, if I had to guess.
Well, that's what they get Thunder for. He's a running back.
Pretty much.
Rich says, Glenn, would it not be better for us if we could find another younger guy? I'm assuming this is about the running backs. I mean, we're kind of going to see it potentially against the Chiefs because we don't know if Melvin Gordon's going to play. He's 50-50, hasn't practiced. So it might be Javon Williams and Mike Boone, who we haven't really seen anything from.
Yeah.
And Boone's under contract for next year, so he's not going.
Yeah. Well, then we got Crockett too, right?
Crockett, yeah. But he's been in and out of I don't know if it's been COVID or injury, but his name has been going in and out of the inactive list the last couple of weeks. So there's been some tape of Crockett and some sites of him, but nothing like amazing that we haven't seen from Javonte and Melvin. But hopefully Melvin is a go for this Sunday because the Broncos are going to need all the help they can get.
Well, I was surprised Melvin even played as much as he did the other day. I mean, he was in a heap right at the very beginning of the game. So, he toughed it out too. It was just an incredible 3.5 hours to enjoy. I mean, it was just awesome.
Yeah. So let's go to the other side of the ball and talk about, and I couldn't come up with a better name because my brain hurt and it was late at night. So I called them the dynamic duo of Kenny Young and Baron Browning. Like, if you can think of another name, put it in the chat and let me know because I couldn't come up with anything without copyright infringement. So I went with that. But if you look at the defense as a whole, since we've had Baron Browning and Kenny Young, and it is completely different. I'm not going to say that the schemes are any different. The basis of the defense isn't any different. Just the way that they're playing is different. Mm-hmm. And so for me, and I'm not taking anything away from the guy, but for me, the catalyst was when Von Miller left. When you come into that locker room, who's the main guy on that team? It's Von Miller. So you defer anything that you're going to do in that locker room as far as being a leader or anything along those lines to Von Miller because he's that guy that's been there. He's the face of the franchise. He's won a Super Bowl MVP, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer. So we know that, and coming from Albright and Edwards when they talk about it on BCT, Von Miller's more the laid-back type, just kind of, let it correct itself over time. And that works when you have players that are like that. So when we were in Super Bowl 50 and you had the older players like Chris Harris, and you had Darian Stewart, and you had all the Aqib Talib, the guys that are also more laid back. It was fine and it worked. But as you started getting younger, you started seeing, I think, guys not respond as well. So I'm not saying that Von Miller is, like, him leaving is the whole reason why they're better, but I think that was one of the main reasons to the turnaround in attitude. Just going, like, instead of having the leadership of Von, now you're under Shelby Harris and Justin Simmons, and they lead in a completely different way.
Well, I don't know if you heard Chubb the other day, but he said, they asked him about Von leaving, and he said that it was basically a wake-up call for all of them, that if this guy can get traded, any of them can get traded. Sarah Bedinger made an interesting point. The more the Rams start tanking, the better our pick is going to, like, our picks are going to be from them as well.
Smash Bros.
I was thinking the youngsters.
That could go the wrong way, though. So I don't know if we'll do that one. We'll keep looking. We'll keep looking. Well, I know there were some discussions over Twitter about whether Kenny Young is better than Josie Jewell, because Josie Jewell was playing well before he got hurt. But do you see Josie Jewell starting over Kenny Young? And do you I guess there was this big thing over, well, Kenny Young's not that good, Baron Browning's just covering for him. It's like, wow.
Who said that?
No.
I don't think it's that he's not that good. I do think Baron Browning is, like, the champ here. However, I would be okay with either Kenny Young or Josie Jewell getting re-signed. I think
Yin and yang.
They kind of bring
yang.
a little different. Like, Kenny Young's a little more athletic, and Josie Jewell is a little more cerebral. Like, he knows what he's looking at. And so but, like, Josie Jewell was also looking good right before he tore his pec. Like, he was everywhere. So I would completely be okay with him coming back. I'm kind of Alexander Johnson, I think, can walk, because he's getting a little old in the tooth, and he's kind of a see ball get ball guy that I think we can potentially upgrade from. So I am okay with either Young or Jewell coming back, or we might not get any of them back if Fangio's gone, because then we might completely change our scheme, and then you never know.
Avatar and Cameron Parker say, Bash Bros, isn't that a Mighty Ducks thing?
Yep.
See, this is why it's so hard. Speaking
Mighty Ducks,
what, you are fired. You cannot be on this podcast and I've seen that movie or any of them. There's 3 of them. You got to watch one of them.
I've never seen them.
Yeah.
They don't show the Mighty Ducks on the screens at Twin Peaks.
Not unless they're actually playing.
Wow. EJ says Baron Browning and Kenny Young show speed we've lacked since Trevathan and Brandon Marshall.
That's true.
Brandon Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
Danny Trevathan wasn't really that fast of a backer, though, was he?
Danny Trevathan? Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
He was. Yeah.
I thought Oh no, that might have been. I thought it was the bigger run stuffer. That was
Mobley who wasn't that quick.
Yeah, you're thinking.
Don't stop. Al Wilson.
Well, that was his speed is what attracted his eye from Elway to get him to sign to Denver. From what did he say? From free agency, I think it was back in 2014, 15, around there. So, unfortunately, with Trevathan under that Vic Fangio scheme when he went to Chicago, he looked really good. But once Fangio left, his
he's still there though.
He's still there, but he's not delivering as good as and it could be because of age. That could be one thing. And right now he's injured, but it's not the same Trevathan of old. So I agree with Boggins. I think that Josie Jewell is that Josie Jewell is the better of the two out of Alexander Johnson. If I had to pick one to keep, it would probably be Jewell and let Alexander Johnson walk, just for the simple fact that Jewell has shown so much improvement, and it really sucks that his season ended due to injury because, but then again, we probably wouldn't have the dynamic duo we have today if both of those guys didn't get injured. So we'd be here talking about a whole different story right now.
Yeah.
Do we even ask Adon if he's seen Star Wars? Like,
yeah, I've seen the movies.
Okay. Have you seen Forrest Gump?
Yeah, I've seen Forrest Gump.
Okay. All right. Well, you're someone. Die Hard?
Not the last one, but I've seen the first.
Have you seen at least the first one?
Yeah, I've seen the first one.
Okay, then you're somewhat acceptable.
My fiance hasn't, and that has made my friends very mad.
You need to find a different fiance. That's,
okay.
Apparently, it's a Christmas.
I can't just show her the movie.
I mean, you could, but that's the easy. That's the easy route.
Okay. Well, got it.
No,
that's what Mike's wife's friends all said before they got married. You got to find another one. Yeah,
pretty much. To go along with the linebackers, we had Stephen Weatherly show out in the last game with a sack, which is awesome. We also had and Rich was saying the same thing that Albright did, but Albright said have Chubb and Weatherly as your outside linebackers, and then have Reed and Cooper rotate in, which I thought was I'm down with that. I'm not going to say that Weatherly's strength is pass rush, but he can do it. But his strength is being where he needs to be, and that's you get like Reed. He's good at pass rushing, but I don't know if he has that mentality to, if you're not going to get there, at least get in the way, which is kind of what Weatherly is. Like, if I'm not going to get there, get in the way.
But we can't get rid of him, though, because then he's going to become a Shaq Barrett. Everyone knows this.
I keep all four.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen Weatherly has been just fantastic. He's always made sure that, like Mike said, if he doesn't get to the quarterback, he makes sure that the quarterback doesn't leak out and run out of the pocket. And we could have really used his services when we played against Lamar Jackson earlier in the season. But that starting rotation sounds fine to me, just as long as, hopefully Bradley Chubb is playing. I know he played at a bit of a snap count last week, and it was okay. But we just need to make sure that with Chubb we tread carefully and we don't overdo it like they did originally, So, but starting those two and then just having Weatherly just get in there and wreck people alongside with Chubb is really dangerous for any offensive line, I would say.
The Grim Sleepers.
Oh, I love that.
Grim Sleepers.
That's really good.
I love that.
Browning, Young, Chubb, and Weatherly, the Grim Sleepers. I love that.
That's great.
And Cameron Parker calls Stephen Weatherly Rex Specs, which I thought is hilarious.
I'll vote for anybody had
still like Angry Hater, but
it looks awesome.
Right?
And
Also, so Shelby Harris was out this last game, and McTelvin Ajim came in and lit it up.
Well, he did
great.
It
right now. Is it Ajim or is it Agim?
I keep hearing it both ways, Agim and Ajim.
Just call him Sosa. That's what they all
Somebody else called him Ajim, and I was like, well, I know it's not that.
It was like a couple weeks ago when they said Albert Okwebunam, and they were like, oh man, what did they say? It was like oak egg bunam, oak egg bunam, and I was like, bro, your brain just stopped, didn't it?
There have been people that said like oak boo boo, and it's like, what? No,
not even trying anymore. Like,
you guys need to start, so our commenters need to start throwing these things on Twitter and tagging some of these players, because the Grim Sleepers is great. And then EJ just dropped one for Stephen Weatherly.
Mad Scientist, that's not bad either. I don't know, Rich. Angry Aviator might be replaced by Mad Scientist, because that's really good. I like that.
That's
Goggles
really
McGee.
We're not doing that one.
What?
Goggles McGee.
I wish we had.
Well, if he got a beer, if he got like a Budweiser sponsorship, it could be beer goggles or whatever.
I don't think I could love the Broncos more unless we had two pass rushers on each side that were brothers and their last name were O'Doyle, and then you could have like
O'Doyle rules.
O'Doyle rules on both sides. Oh man.
Being followed by Goggles McGee, and then we're all set right there. We also saw the return of Bradley Chubb.
He was great.
Yeah, he didn't have a sack on the game, but he was back there getting pressures, and for only 26 snaps, that's pretty good. But the fact
Herbert was feeling it.
I know, but Bradley didn't get a sack, but he got pressures. Like
he was in that
almost
backfield
every time he was out there.
Yeah. Every drop back and on a play he was in, he was back there. I mean, he was disruptive.
And you think about it, like over the last 5 years, 4 years, we've had Chubb and Miller on either side, and so they have people keying in on both of them. Well, on the team, we had them on the team.
Technically on the team.
Yeah, like queuing in on both. But now, even if you block Bradley Chubb, you've got to worry about Cooper, or you've got to worry about Ajim, or you've got to worry about Williams, or you got to worry about Weatherly. I mean, there's so many people that we're not doing that either. No.
Plus, it's already Mike's nickname.
Hey, I am Fluffy. Okay.
I thought it was Chunky.
Wow.
3/4 Chubb.
I'm gonna.
I haven't seen anyone
that real quick. I kick you out. You're in timeout.
Rich is really pushing this angry aviator. I haven't seen somebody from MHRT pushing something that's gone nowhere since Johnny with the Mile High 5.
Mile High Chubb.
No. Dude, I'm gonna have to start putting like a not for if you're no under 18 on this show. Like you gotta cut it out.
Yeah, we gotta start putting the parental advisory thing in the bottom.
You're gonna get me in trouble.
Weatherly Thunder.
The Weatherman.
It's like weather.
The Weatherman. But yeah, no. I mean, there's so many weapons that you have to worry about instead of just this. Shut up. Instead of just the two, Miller and Chubby. Now you got me saying it. There's so many other weapons that you have to worry about. It's not just from the edge; it's from the interior as well, or even from the safeties.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
thanks. I appreciate your insight into that. Boggins, that was fantastic.
I didn't say anything because I thought Boggins was going to talk. Go ahead, Boggins. Back up the ball.
He said, yeah. That was his insight.
I agree. We have a lot of good pass rushing options, including like DB blitzes. Like we're looking good. We're looking good.
Yeah, I mean,
that was major letdown.
I mean, I don't know.
Should have stuck with
Yeah,
you should. Yeah, you should have just stuck with
We have
you had me at hello.
We have good depth.
Hopefully, this is the turnaround of the Fangio defense we expected back in week one, starting to take shape now. Now, the question is that if the Fangio defense actually takes shape and they start getting better and they start really hurting these our next opponents, because our schedule going forward is not an easy one, aside from most likely the Lions game. Do you guys think that, and this is something that somebody else asked us on Tuesday on Broncos Talk, do you guys think that it would be enough to save Vic Fangio's job for at least one more season? If he helps the team make it to the playoffs, at least.
Well, isn't there a playoff mandate basically out there? Like if you don't make the playoffs, you're gone.
I don't know about that.
On contract, I don't know.
Well, no, not like on contract, but like the word out that like if you don't make the playoffs, you're gone. At the same time, and Glenn and I talked about this the other day. I don't like at this point, if the team continues to play well, I don't mind Vic Fangio being back. I do mind if Shermer comes back and McMahon comes back. I don't want that. Like, I think no matter what, Shermer has to go. I want to say that the reports of Vic Fangio losing the team were a little premature. Mm-hmm. And again, I think that goes back to the Von Miller trade and all that happened with that. I honestly don't mind Vic Fangio staying if we continue to play well.
No, I completely agree. And I think it also is, if you get a veteran quarterback that comes in there, you have Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson come in there that has specific offenses that they like. And so you just kind of cater to them on offense. Then you got them handling the offense. And then you got Fangio doing what he likes to do is just dealing with the defense and keeping the clock management out of his hand. Just like someone else. You could have Russell Wilson do that.
And he does. He's not allowed to throw challenge flags. Somebody else has to do it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
No more.
One of the things about if Fangio is gone or if they do clean house is we have a ton of good, solid assistant coaches that I'm not prepared to see all those guys disappear either. You know?
Yeah.
I do think it's a very great. It's a very alluring place to come and play. Besides the ownership situation, which I know that Albright put out today that like the team is technically still not for sale, but it's just kind of like, that's just how this court stuff is panning out currently. But I know that might not necessarily be the most alluring part about it, but the roster is a ton of good young players. And Peyton's a great GM so far. So I think that even if we do lose Fangio, there's going to be a lot of coaches that it's going to be a very high interest. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and, a lot of money too. I mean, we're going to have a ton of money. But can I ask you guys a quick question?
No,
sure.
So tonight McCarthy is out with COVID, right? So he's not coaching. So Dan Quinn is taking over.
What
happens if the Cowboys turn it around tonight? I know that.
Okay, but what does turn it around mean?
Wait, who are they playing again? The Saints?
I don't know. What if the team decidedly? I know the Saints are terrible right now, but
all right, we're trying right now.
With Taysom Hill.
What if the players respond differently to a Dan Quinn, and all of a sudden he's off the table as far as an option? When that was one of those where it seemed like Quinn was going to be one of those coaches that would help us get Russell interested. So tonight will be an interesting game to watch.
Yeah. Well, if it's one thing we all know about the Cowboys, especially their owner, is that Jerry Jones loves to beat his chest every single time the Cowboys win the following day. So if Dan Quinn goes out there and puts on a show, like Glenn said, and it's a hell of a show and he shows promise, it would probably come down to Jerry Jones to see if he would cut the whole Mike McCarthy experiment short and decide to roll the dice with Dan Quinn. Now, Dan Quinn has done a really good job turning that defense around. I'm not going to lie, at least for the first half. And it's really ironic that most of the AFC West beat the Cowboys, except for the Chargers. So, but then again, from a record that I saw earlier today, Dan Quinn has not had the most favorable matchups against the Saints. The Saints always seem to have his number when he was the head coach for the Falcons. So, but like Glenn said, it will be a really interesting game to watch tonight because obviously this team isn't the Falcons. They have much better weapons. They have a much better quarterback, and he'll be calling the defense. So it could be. I wouldn't be surprised if we woke up tomorrow morning and it was like Mike McCarthy gets fired and Dan Quinn is the interim coach for the next couple of games.
Yeah, I don't want to happen. Cameron Parker says, I just wonder if Vic Fangio is head coach material per se. What I think is interesting is if Vic would consider defensive coordinator position if he got a new head coach.
I can't see it.
No.
And I don't know if Fangio per se is a bad head coach, but I do question his decision making on assistant coaches. Like, they're bad. I don't get it.
No, not assistant coaches.
Coordinators. And not so much Donatel. I mean, Donatel's been with him forever, but Pat Shurmur.
That's a head
even going back to 2 years ago with
Scangarello.
What's his face? Yeah, Scangarello. And then Tom McMahon. Like, why? What?
Well, we mentioned Forrest Gump earlier. I mean, Shurmur truly is the life is like a box of chocolates. You truly don't know what you're going to get. It was like when Locke was the quarterback last year. You just never knew which one was going to show up, which Pat Shurmur is going to show up. Hopefully the one that calls is 33 runs again this Sunday night.
And like if I understand Fangio being the guy that likes to delegate responsibility. Like, defense is in charge of defense, special teams in charge of special teams, offensive coordinators in charge of offense, and I'll just oversee it. Like, I get that. That's fine. But then you have to have something that you're good at besides just one of those areas. Like, you have to separate yourself and be good at clock management or throwing the challenge flag or something. But
Yeah.
I have no issues with him not being in charge of every single aspect. That's fine. Delegate all you want, but you got to have the right coordinators in the right spots. And right now, 2 out of the 3 coordinators aren't working.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I don't think anybody ever questioned like Vic Fangio being a good defensive coordinator. Like he's amazing. He's one of the greatest defensive coordinators. And I don't see him stepping down into I mean, when's the last time it's happened? I don't think I know.
I don't think it ever has.
Actually has happened. Maybe Ed Donatello, but I still don't see that. I think they're probably going to clear house if they do at all, which
there you go, Glenn. Right there. Vicky Bronco. Yeah, but you know what you get out of a box of chocolate if you just look at the lid. That's funny.
Right.
That's funny.
Somebody tag Tom Hanks.
Is right. Write that down.
Yeah, and honestly, if Fangio is replaced as head coach, I don't see why he wouldn't get another shot as a head coach somewhere else.
Yeah, there'd be a team out there that would give him another shot just for the simple fact that they know that he'll be bringing his defensive schemes and plans with him, and that's just basically what
I don't. But I don't know about head coach at first. I think he'll probably get a defensive coordinator position, and then I don't.
I agree with Boggins.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any.
I
don't know if there's any teams right now that would be looking. Maybe I mean, unless he goes back to the Bears and they hire him as the head coach, since he already was a defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
that would be the only one I could see.
Yeah, he'd probably I would probably say maybe more than likely just retire if he can't get another head coaching gig. Because while it would be simple to go back to being a defensive coordinator, it's like once you get a taste of being the head coach, which is something that he's always been wanting to do, especially for a guy of his caricature and stature. He's been in the league.
Caricature. That's those drawings with the over accentuated.
I meant to say character and I said caricature. Sorry. A man of his character and stature, being in the league for so many years, and never had the chance to be a head coach it's crazy. I mean, I don't know why John Elway decided to take a chance with him in that position when he hired him. I mean, it still broke my heart when the Shanahan celebrated the Mike Shanahan celebration day and Kyle Shanahan came to Denver, even though because it was the 49ers bye week that week. But it was just a wonderful thing of what could have been just seeing Kyle Shanahan as the possible head coach of the Broncos from that year.
No Name says, what do y'all think of Chuck Pagano?
Well, we have John Pagano on our
radar.
One of our linebacker coaches.
Yeah, his dad didn't do that great with
Chuck is defense, right? Chuck is defense, right?
Yeah,
defensive minded.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
I don't. Defensively, I don't know how you go from a Fangio to a Pagano. I mean, that's
go Broncos.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that is not so much of an option. I mean, I've seen a lot of the options, and reported options, non-reported options. I haven't seen that one on the list. I think he's pretty much hung his hat up.
Yeah, and until we get to that point where there's actually like a full list of candidates, the only big name that I'm hearing is Dan Quinn, and I think that has more to do with
Jason Garrett.
Jason Garrett too.
Kellen Moore.
Well, but I mean, like he wasn't even on the list. Like
no. Are you talking about the
there was
list?
There was like that initial short list that Albright put out.
Yeah.
And I think that really the only I think Bevel was on there too, wasn't he?
Oh,
Bevel, and then
most of those names.
And then Dable, he was on there too, wasn't he?
No, he wasn't actually. Not on there.
Okay, so I know there was Garrett, Bevel, and Quinn. I know those are the three big ones.
Gannon.
Yeah, I feel bad for Jason Garrett. So far, he's been the only offensive coordinator or personnel fired. I was expecting there to be like a firestorm after him, but so far he's been the only one.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, and like I get Dan Quinn if Russell Wilson is your target. Like I get that because that at least makes sense. I also kind of get Jason Garrett if what you're wanting to do is develop a quarterback, then I at least get it. Doesn't mean I want him, but I at least understand it.
I don't understand.
How do I turn off Mike's camera?
Isn't Greg Roman
Why'd you turn off my camera?
Oh, sorry.
Isn't Greg Roman the guy who was the defensive coordinator for the Saints?
No,
that was Greg Williams
for the Ravens.
Oh, Greg Williams. Yeah. Sorry, yeah. Greg Williams. Sorry, I had my Gregs mixed up.
On Roman, maybe he is a quarterback guru, and I guess it depends on who we get. I don't know about Ritter though from Cincinnati, if that's what you're talking about.
So Big E just
I
said
don't know about any of these quarterbacks. I don't know about any of these quarterbacks coming up.
Yeah, I still have to do my research.
He's
ask me in March.
Pretty raw, but I mean they're undefeated, so yeah.
No name laughs. LOL, Garrett.
Oh
no, I agree, and like
no, you don't. You said you wanted him. I heard it.
No, I didn't. I said I understood.
Number one on my list.
Breaking news.
He gives me a mile high club. That's what you said.
You're gonna get us in trouble. I like
the player
again. If he's there to develop a quarterback, I don't have an issue with him being on the team as a head coach. Probably not. But if he's there to develop a quarterback, I could see having Jason Garrett on the team to develop a quarterback.
I'm not saying he's going to be there to, but like he's like with Michael Vick and like Lamar Jackson, like but it's very specific. That's what I'm saying. Like he is the QB guru because he's taking players that like people were discounting as like not good passers and made them viable passers. What do you mean? I just told you.
Are you talking about Garrett?
Lamar. No. No. Greg Roman.
I thought you were talking about Garrett. I was like, no, he didn't work with Lamar Jackson.
No. Garrett developed Brandon Whedon, which
well, he also developed Dak Prescott and was there for Tony Romo. I'm just saying.
Twitter, I'm just gonna say facts that fit my narrative. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Jiminy Christmas!
Because that's Glenn's caricature.
So.
Now we got to get a Vic caricature.
More better. Let's see. Let's do a little bit of a Chiefs preview. I'm not as much worried about their defense as I am about their offense figuring out the issues they've been having. I know Mahomes is a guy that likes to ad lib and throw it deep, but they haven't been able to do that this year. So what do we need to do in order to stop the Kansas City offense from scoring a lot of points?
Do what we've been doing. Because like the last couple times we played them, it hasn't been like one of the scores did not depict what actually happened. But like we're able to contain the Kansas City Chiefs each time we've played them, and they've had a hard time with us. And I think this time we have more consistency at quarterback, and I think we have a better run game. So I mean, hopefully Melvin Gordon is able to play. If not, Mike Boone hopefully is, everything we've hoped that he potentially could be. But I mean, the main goal or the main things you got to do in beating the Chiefs: cover 2, keep everything underneath you, like bracket Tyreek Hill. Like you can't just be running straight up man. Like you're not going to be running no zeros on.
If you couldn't keep up with Henry Ruggs, you're not going to keep up with Tyreek Hill.
You can't keep Travis Kelce underneath you and try to prevent the yak as much as possible, and get pressure on Mahomes. Try to keep him uncomfortable. I mean that's kind of a given, but and then run the clock. Like keep the ball away from Mahomes because like what he does is what he does. Like it doesn't matter what you do. Sometimes he can just make plays happen. And that is what becomes a big problem because that play could be something you thought a play was over and Tyreek is still running and Mahomes throws it behind his back while doing a somersault. Yeah. And
with just his middle finger.
80 yards down the road. And gives the Chiefs fans a mile high chub. You know what I mean? So it's like can't be doing that. Can't be doing that,
dude.
Yeah, I personally feel that the Chiefs' offensive line has been getting so much recognition, and I just don't see it especially from most of the analysts I've been listening to over the week. I just don't think they're as good as a lot of people think they are, because if they were, the Chiefs running game would be so much better and Patrick Mahomes would be putting up 30-something points, which is something the Kansas City offense has not been able to do for quite a couple weeks now. So this should be a game where the Broncos shouldn't get run over, quote unquote, because the defense has been playing. If they play like they did against Justin Herbert, then they should be able to win this game. Like our good friend No Name said, the Chiefs run defense is just terrible, and their pass rushers are really good. You know, they have Frank Clark and Chris Jones. So basically, we just have to make sure that Teddy Bridgewater doesn't dance in the pocket, doesn't do anything where he holds the ball longer than he has to. Make the clean plays. Just basically put up points whenever the Broncos offense is out on the drive. Don't make any unnecessary decisions. And if they stick to the plan, like Boggin said, don't let Mahomes scramble for yards. Keep Kelsey just underneath the sticks, and just don't lose sight of Tyreek Hill. Then the Broncos could get their very first win in Arrowhead in over 5 years.
11.
Well,
It's like 11 games.
Yeah.
The game at home last year, illustrated exactly what we can't let happen. I mean, that was a competitive game. And then you had a pick six and you had a special teams touchdown. I mean, two things that things got out of hand very, very quickly after that. It was over. And I feel a lot more confident in having, a quarterback that is a little bit more careful this time. I think the players are, Vic even said we have a better team. We have better depth. I'm still going to pick against the Broncos just because every time I've picked against them, they've won. So
you're going to the risk thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I was going to say, like, we're hearing a lot of, at least from other Broncos insiders, that it sounds like it's going to be PS2 on Kelsey, and then a lot of double coverage on Hill, and maybe not so much double, but pass them off to a corner, passes them off to the safety. So it would be, goes from Darby to Stearns or Darby to Jackson or Simmons or.
Yeah, I don't see. It's going to be very interesting to watch to see if Surtain is actually on Kelsey, because one, that's not like what we do usually. Two, if you are going to do that, I don't know if we have the depth to do that right now because of the injuries at cornerback. So it's going to be and like how well Surtain is playing on the outside. Like, do you really want to take that away from the outside, or do you want it to be like, no, you do your thing, and then we maybe move. I don't know. We got Ojemudia potentially back.
Bassey.
So like we have options. But
Harrison's been great.
Yeah,
Harrison,
he's on.
So then do we bump him and pass him off to a linebacker?
Harrison just got, or he's like questionable too, right?
Mm-hmm. He is.
Was that pass him off to a linebacker?
So Kelsey, like, do you bump him at the line and then pass him off to Young or Browning?
Yeah, I mean, they probably just run zone in the middle with Browning and Young. Yeah, they just have their spaces to fill and just kind of. But like that's what's tough, is you have to be able to manage those spaces well, because that's what Kelsey does. Like, he knows when you're in zone and will find that hole, and your goal is to make sure he doesn't. So it's I don't see Fangio just being like, all right, PS2, you go stay on him the whole time. I don't see that happening, but who knows?
Yeah. So let's do game predictions, score predictions for the Chiefs game. Yeah, no, we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
I wanted to be
we're not there yet. So Glenn, you said you were going to stick with picking the Chiefs, right?
I have to. Every time I pick the Broncos against one of these
they lose.
heavy hitters, we've
Me too.
We've lost, and vice versa. So I'm going to go Chiefs 31-27, even though I think differently.
I don't like this one.
I'm going to say Broncos 30-27.
You think
I'm going to say
30 points?
Yeah.
Oh no. Do I fall into positivity, or do I go with the negativity?
Why start now?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Chiefs 52
Wow.
to 7.
How do you turn off his camera?
Listen, this is gonna be
It's like that.
it's gonna
Your
be
timeout
perfect
again.
because it's gonna be cattywampus. Cattywampus.
Cattywampus?
One of the cats is gonna be involved, and then you switch.
One of the
on a
cats.
switch
I thought he was
the
referencing
score.
Caddyshack. I was about to say I love that movie.
No.
Now you know what? Now you're in timeout. Go away.
Who doesn't love Caddyshack?
Okay, so I'm thinking 28-27. Denver wins because Kansas City missed an extra point.
Wow.
That's where I'm going.
You have a kicker?
Butker?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
No, Justin Tucker, but he's missed a couple so far this season, I think.
No Name says 24-17 Broncos. Shadow Jacker says 21-17 Broncos. Jay Weaver says upset alert. Well, yeah. We're like, what, 9.5 point underdogs
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah,
Broncos
not favored.
24-20. Big E says Kansas City 34, Denver Broncos 17.
Ooh.
As much as I believe that us picking against the Broncos is going to help them win, I believe in that linebacking core, man. Like, something's changed. They're different. Now if we get the Broncos versus the Eagles, like, there's going to be a problem. But I'm staying optimistic that it's going to be more of the Broncos versus Cowboys and Broncos versus Chargers that we're going to see as opposed to the other. But we'll see.
This is gonna be a bummer if the Broncos actually do win. That means I really have to be like I have to root against the Broncos like all the or like
Every time.
predict like you know,
Not root.
like, oh
Not
god,
root, just
yeah,
pick.
not root, yeah, just like no, they're gonna get walloped.
EJ says Broncos 28-21 over the Chiefs with a PS2 pick six with a minute 34 left in the fourth quarter. What if it's a minute 36? Then what?
Can you give me lottery ticket numbers?
Can you scratch my scratch offs? Just
Avatar says 19-12 Broncos. Nice.
Ooh.
And because WizKid is not here, we're gonna go. His score would be 64-1 because he's weird like that.
9 to 8.
We're gonna go with that. He is at a basketball game right now, so he's not here.
Ooh.
So, anything else before we close out? Anything we want to talk about?
Yeah.
Boggins, you're not allowed to pick. No, that's not what we're doing. Boggins is in timeout.
Too late. I beat you to it.
All right, so that's going to do it for us. We want to make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, share, turn on notifications. But right now, we want every single person that is in the chat watching the show to hit that thumbs up. That helps us in so many ways. I can't even explain. So go ahead and hit. Well, I can't. I just don't want to because that'd take a while. So everybody hit that thumbs up so we can get this video liked as much as possible. And make sure that you're also commenting, sharing, subscribing. Like and thumbs up are the same thing. You know what I mean. Make sure you're also tuning into Broncos Talk every Tuesday at 7654. The Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast on Friday, 7654. And the Neighborhood pregame show that airs before every Broncos game. You can also catch the audio versions if you can't watch the videos of all the network's podcasts on the major podcast streaming services. Links are in the description below. We love you all. We love Broncos country. And now we're going to end with the Mile High Five. Everybody ready? Except for Boggins.
Do it.
He's a jerk. Mile High Five! Woo! Yay! Boggins did it too.
Oh, yeah.
That's
In reverse.
amazing. Now, all right, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow for the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast.
Mine.